What's up, Lost Boys? Here we are, and I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, it's Tuesday morning. Actually, right now, it's Monday night. I just got home from work. I'm still a little wired, so I thought might as well get the video in tonight so you guys might have something to watch on your way to work tomorrow. So let's get right in. But first, Pat's big, huge, furry mammals get the dub on the last second field goal. Grats, buddy. All right, let's talk fantasy football. We're going to start with our first matchup of the week with our first place team of the week. Justin had been riding high. He faces Josh this week, and unfortunately, that riding high had to tumble back down. Josh kind of lays an ass whooping on Justin. Justin still put up 134 points this week, which was not bad, but he was let down by his superstar Puka Nacua, who had an ankle injury. Bijan tried to will himself back into this game. He got him over 30 points tonight. Dak as well has been a stud this year, but unfortunately for Justin, it just wasn't enough. Um, Josh takes him down. Josh had a lot of, I mean, as we all thought when we left the draft this past year, Josh getting carried by DeAndre Swift and Cam Skattebo. What? Yeah, crazy game, crazy week. Skattebo starts the Thursday Night Football with 30 points. DeAndre Swift caps it off with 24 points. His number one wide receiver this week had to be CeeDee Lamb. No, he's out. I mean, it had to be Amon-Ra. He's the man. No, it had to be Devontae Adams. No, it was Booty Boy. Keyshawn Booty comes through for Josh, ends up helping Josh take down Justin in the first place. Drake Mace quietly having a really good year, gets some rushing yards, gets some passing yards, and Josh knocks off first place Justin in an epic matchup this week, 175 to 134. Next, we're going to go with Titty Biscuits versus Tim. This was our closest game of the week this week. This one had all the implications going into Monday Night Football. And Pat takes down Tim. This was a huge matchup of teams, one kind of falling down in Tim and one slowly coming up in Pat. His guys have been looking pretty good the last couple weeks. Brian Thomas is finally starting to show some life. Unfortunately for Pat, it looks like Marvin Harrison might be out next week or the week after with a concussion. We'll see how that is. And injuries have taken a toll on Pat with Bucky Irving, but that might have actually been a blessing in disguise. Bucky Irving goes out. Pat picks up Rachaad White. He's been awesome for him since he started in. We'll see when Bucky Irving looks like he's going to be out for at least one more week, maybe two. Jacoby Brissett steps in for Kyler, gets 20 points for Pat this week. Chase gets 20 with Joe Flacco slinging it around, and slowly Pat puts up 147, which is a really good week. Tim 137 this week, which is not bad, but once again, Tim, it just can't get over that hump of the 150. He's had, Christian McCaffrey, of all the injuries that have happened this year, it's irony at its finest that Christian McCaffrey's the one that has been healthy. He gets 20 points. He gets about 20 points a week in his sleep. Horse Turd Hair gets 13, not the best. He finally got a good game from Lad McConkey, but Tim's flexes they just let him down. Travis Hunter 3. Bill, that was Tim's shot tonight, was to have Bill Krosky Merritt carry him to the victory, get him like 20 points. No, he only gets 5, and Tim loses by 10. So that was the big play tonight. Tim had a chance, and Bill couldn't put him over. And a big win for Pat to move up to 3-3. Tim fall to 3-3, and now we're starting to see the points matter in the league. So huge win for Pat this week. Next, we're going to look at Ryan versus Denny. And this was another ass whipping. And this has been the theme all year. It seems like we don't really get a lot of close fantasy games this year, which is really, really unfortunate, but it is what it is. Ryan lays a smackdown on Denny, and Ryan's team is looking nasty, guys. It's looking nasty. First off, he has the top 2 MVP candidates in the NFL right now, in my opinion, in Baker Mayfield and Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is going to be QB1 the rest of the year. I truly believe that. With all the weapons, he's got Rashee Rice coming back. He's getting rushing yards. He's getting rushing touchdowns. The defense doesn't look as solid, so they're going to have to pass a lot. Mahomes is awesome right now. And he needs to be awesome because he looks like, unfortunately for Ryan, he might lose Ibuka for at least a couple weeks of the hamstring injury. Zay Flowers has been bad, but it doesn't even matter. I mean, Ryan's first round pick, Saquon's been a bust this year. His Chase Brown pick's been a bust. But because Ryan drafted so deep with Ibuka, Jake Ferguson's been so good for him this year, and maybe the biggest pick of the year, we'll see what happens in a couple weeks. But Rico Dowdle, another 30-point game for Ryan, which is absolutely crazy. We'll see what happens when Chubba Bubba Bubba comes back, but huge pickup for Ryan. Gets him the victory at 161. Denny, on the other hand, 114. 114 for Denny. It's just rough. He lost Neighbors a few weeks ago. He decides to make this crazy trade. I mean, a few years ago, it was Alec Pierce for Travis Etienne to Cass, and he's like, hold my beer. Tua for Tyquan Thornton, and now I'm looking, oh yeah, Tyquan Thornton scored as much points as Jaquise Makiki, which I don't even know if that's a real person, but they scored as many points as Tyquan Thornton this week. Zero! Zero! So I don't really know what's going on there. I mean, Denny has some good players. Jackson Smith-Njigba may be the best fantasy wide receiver at the end of the year. The way his season's going, Trey McBride finally got going. His kicker got him 17, but I mean, rough week for Denny. Stafford took a dump. Pittman took a dump. Gibbs, who's usually so good, took a dump. So Denny needs to do something, and he needs to do something quick. The first 3 or 4 weeks of the year, Denny was at least scoring a lot of points and getting bad beats, but these last couple weeks, it has not gone good. So we'll see if Denny can turn it around. Next, we're going to go with Gigatrox, Cal versus Learning Computer. And speaking of taking dumps, Cal took a huge dump, and the Learning Computer took him down. Matt Roman wins 144 to 119. Mainly behind the back of Devon Achane, 29 points for Matt. The guy is he's just a really good running back. As long as he can stay healthy, he's going to be a top 5 play the rest of the season. In general, the rest of Matt's guys, 14, 15, 16 points. If Matt can get something from his second quarterback, and guys like T. Higgins and other stuff start to roll, it'd be good for him. The only downside for Matt is he was just involved with the trade for Josh, Garrett Wilson for Quinshon Judkins. Garrett Wilson only gets 2.8 points this week, but bigger news, I think he's going to be out for a couple weeks with a hyperextended knee. We'll see, but not looking good for Matt right there. He needed wide receiver help, and the guy he traded for may have been hurt. We'll see. Doesn't matter, though, this week because he got the dub. He was playing the Gigatrox, and unfortunately for Cal, his team took a giga dump this week. I mean, 114 points, that's pretty and you getting 104 or 119 points after your tight end gets you 21, just shows you how bad the rest of your team is. Talking about that trade that Denny and Cal did, Cal gets Tua 6 points, so both guys combined for 6 points. Pretty terrible. I mean, his wide receivers combined for like 17 points, all 3 of them. Kenneth Walker didn't do much, so Cal's going to need to do something. He's still in the mix of it, as we're going to talk about at the end. But Cal unfortunately falls down. He loses to Matt. He's going to go to 2-4. Matt's going to go to 3-3. Last but not least, Steve Harvey's Pants versus Sweet Chin. Jace versus Cass. And these two teams, Jace started the season 3-0, was undefeated. He had lost 2 in a row now. He was still putting up good points, but he did lose 2 in a row. Cass, on the other hand, he needed some wins. He was 2-3. Injury bug. Last week he lost to Marion Hampton, so he was kind of trying to figure out what to do. Cass is in a rough spot, and unfortunately he barely loses to Jace, and just some bad luck this week. Jace's team looks good in some. I mean, George Pickens, the CeeDee Lamb injury might have been the best thing to happen to Jace, because George Pickens has gone off while he's been out, and 27 points. Jace needed pretty much every one of them. He only wins by 8 points. Jonathan Taylor, fantasy MVP so far, keeps it up, 21.7 points. But the rest of the guys, I mean, Jace's flexes combined for 6 points. Stefan Diggs for 4. Who would have thought that Hollywood Brown scoring 2 touchdowns would have been the difference in Jace beating Cass? Allen hasn't really done much the last few weeks, but the main thing is here, Cass losing this game, not Jace winning this game, in my opinion. I mean, Cass had 4 points from Justin Fields, 2 from Cortland Sutton. You cannot get those kind of things. 1 from his defense, 2 from his kicker. All these things, all he needed was 8 more points, and he would have taken down Jace, but that's fantasy for you. Jace gets the dub when he underperforms, and that's what you need in fantasy. Jace will move to 4-2. Cass will fall to 2-4. Rough situation for Cass right now. Next, we are going to look at next week's matchups. Week 7. Guys, it's kind of crazy. We're already through week 7. We just pretty much hit the quarter way. or the third way, or I don't even know what way through the season. Time is flying right now. So week 7 in fantasy football, matchup of the week, brother versus brother, Josh versus Jace. And both guys are going to be in the top 4. Looking at the standings, Jace is going to move to 4-2, and Jace is going to move back up to first place. He's going back there after being there the first 3 weeks of the season. Josh goes to 3-3. He's going to be in 4th place. Both teams are really, really good. This is a really, really close game, but I'm going to give the edge to Josh. And the main reason is, speaking of Josh's, Josh Allen on bye for Jace, his best player on bye this week. We'll see what Jace can do to fill the spot, but I'm going to give the slight edge to Josh. Another big wrinkle I think that could be if Puka's out, Davante Adams could get about 900 targets in that Rams game. Could help Josh out, but we'll see about that one. Going to give the slight edge to Josh. Next, we're going to go with ICU versus Llama. Maybe the hottest team in the league right now. Llama's rolling, and he's playing against a guy that can't seem to put up a lot of points. I'm going to give the edge to Ryan. I think we'll see what he does. Buka's going to be hurt, so he's had this explosion of 20-point games from this rookie wide receiver helping him every week. He's not going to have that. Can Tim get some huge performances from his guys? We'll see, but I don't know. I'm going to give the slight edge to Ryan. I just think his team is a little bit better. A big thing for Ryan is if they bring back Chubba next week. If Rico Dowdle has the full workload, he could put up a lot of points again. It really hurt Tim. Next, we're going to go Gigatrox versus Denny. This is a battle of the turds, but guys, now that we have our punishment, stand up. Battle of the turds becomes epic matchups because no one wants to be sitting in that last place spot right now. I can't wait to see this matchup. I'm going to give the edge to Denny. I mean, these guys just did a trade that was just garbage for poop. So we'll see what happens when these two play each other this week. But both of them have to try to get a win because the loser of this game really is behind the 8 ball. They don't have a lot of points. Denny has much more than Cal. But record-wise, the loser falls pretty far behind. I'm going to give the slight edge to Cal in this matchup. I think his team's just a little healthier. They have the higher ceiling. We'll see if he can pull it off. Oof, it's going to be a close one. Next, we're going to go with Learning Computer versus Justin. Justin takes an L last week to Josh. He falls to 4-2, but he's still sitting pretty in 2nd place. Actually, I think he's sitting pretty in 3rd place. Llama jumps him in points, but he still has a good amount of points, and he still has a great team. He still has a great team, but he's playing the Learning Computer. Learning Computer gets a big win last week. We'll see what happens here. Both teams are pretty healthy going into this week. Not a lot of buys. It's a battle of the running backs here. Javonte Williams, A-Chain for Matt. James Cook, Bijan for Justin. So if you say those two cross each other out, I'm going to give the edge to Matt this week, actually. And the main reason is I think Puka's going to miss the week. Justin's been relying on Puka a lot. He's been awesome this year. If he's out, Justin's going to have to find a replacement. Hopefully Quentin Johnson gets healthy for him, but I think Matt's team has a little bit more depth. I know Matt did just lose Garrett Wilson, so his wide receiver core, which was already thin, is even thinner, but I like his quarterbacks a little bit better, and with no Puka, Justin's a little bit on the ropes. So I'm going to give the slight edge. I think this is going to be our closest game of the week. Justin versus Matt will be our closest game of the week. Next and last, we're going to go with Titty Biscuits versus Steve Harvey's Pants. Cass versus Pat. Pat gets a huge win this week, taking down Tim. He got a huge win last week when he took down Jace. Now he plays Cass, who's the most beat up team in our league, who's tumbling to the bottom. This couldn't set up better for Pat, and I'm going to give the edge to Pat. I know he just lost Marvin Harrison Jr. probably with a concussion, but he has Jamar Chase. His guys are starting to roll, starting to get. If Brian Thomas gets chemistry with Trevor Lawrence, it's so big for Pat. Cass, on the other hand, like I mentioned, his team's just really beat up right now. I mean, his ceiling is limited. Like I said, when you're starting Bryce Young and Justin Fields, it's rough. I mean, Tet got going, and it still didn't matter for Cass. So we'll see. I'm going to give the edge to Pat this week. I think he gets a huge dub, and Pat stays in the playoff race, which looked unlikely 3 weeks ago. So those are our matchups for next week, guys. Real quick, we're going to look at the standings before we go. First place, Jace is back up there. His point total is just too high. He is sitting pretty at 4-2. The other 4-2 teams, Next is Ryan at second place. He edges Justin out, finally passes Justin with his big week this week of 161 points. Passes Justin, he goes to second. Justin's the other 4-2 team. Third place. So all three of those guys are our 4-2 teams, all tied, varying based on points. 3-3. Josh sitting there at 3-3, has the point total. You know, doing the best he can. Seems like Josh's team is a huge roller coaster. 1 week is extremely low, 1 week is extremely high. So we'll see where he ends up next week. Next, you have Learning Computer sitting there at 5, Pat at 6, and ICU at 7. All three of those guys are battling for that playoff spot. Tim needs the points, Pat needs the points, Matt is doing okay in the points compared to those two, so Matt needs to just keep on winning. And then you get to the bottom three. Denny at 7 or 8, Cass at 9, Cal at 10. This is where it gets really interesting because Denny, he's in a rough spot. Like we mentioned the last 2 weeks, he's put up the least amount of points. Cass, the most injured team in our league. And then you have Cal, who's just terrible. So we're in a rough spot. All three of those guys have low point totals and bad records, and 2 of them play each other this week. So it's getting crazy. I'm super excited about our last place penalty. It really makes the games interesting later in the year for some of the last place guys. So that's our weekly recap in fantasy, guys. Awesome week for the Chiefs. Awesome week for the Bears. Love you guys. Have a good night.